lost in it. So the more I seek, the more I realize I'm not like God. I realize there's a lot more for me to be able to do. There's a lot more for me to be able to become. And I just get lost in it. I realize the only person that can do that is God. This morning we've been speaking about the fruits of the Spirit. And so we've covered love, we've covered joy, we've covered peace. We're at kindness now. And I want to start off with that verse. As you guys get there, let's go to prayer. Heavenly Father, we just come before you this morning, Lord. We thank you, God, for who you are in our lives. I thank you, God, this morning that your word will speak life into our lives. I thank you, God, because your word is alive. And I pray that this morning, God, you would make it alive in our hearts, that you would help us apply it to our lives, God. As hard as it is sometimes, I pray, God, that you would make it alive in our hearts, and that we would live it out. In Jesus' name. Galatians 5:22, it says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, and faithfulness." This morning we want to speak about kindness. I want to talk to you about kindness, and I want to bring you a story in the Bible. But if we were to break down kindness, what is kindness? I just want to give you, see, the definition of kindness, and it comes up as the quality of being friendly, generous, considerate. Some other synonyms of kindness are kind-heartedness, warm-heartedness, affection, warmth, gentleness, concern, care, affection. How many of you can say and identify with those? How many of this morning can say, I am that? How many of us can say, there are still areas of my life where I'm not? Because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be kind. People push your buttons, and you don't want to be kind. Sometimes you just, all you can say is, help me, God. And that's why I say I go into that song, and I go deep into that song, because I realize that there are still areas of my life that need to change. There's still areas that God needs to deal with. I believe we all have areas. How many of us can say we're perfect already? Not one of us. But there are areas that we can go to and still have God work on. Go with me to 2 Samuel chapter 9. 2 Samuel chapter 9. I'm trying to do this with my app. I like this. Give me a moment. 2 Samuel chapter 9. There's a story in the Bible of David showing kindness to one of Saul's family members, one of the last family members of Saul's family. And it says, "And David said, 'Is there anyone left in the house of Saul that I may show him kindness for Jonathan's sake?' Now there was a servant in the house of Saul whose name was Ziba, and they called him to David, and David said to him, 'Are you Ziba?' And he said, 'I am your servant.' And the king said, 'Is there not still someone of the house of Saul that I may show kindness, or show the kindness of God to him?' Ziba said to the king, 'There is still a son of Jonathan. He is crippled in his feet.' The king said to him, 'Where is he?' And Ziba said to the king, 'He is in the house of Mashur, the son of Amiel, in Lobadar.' Then King David sent and brought him to the house of Mashur, the son of Amiel in Lobadar. And Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, son of Saul, came to David and fell on his face and paid homage. David said, 'Mephibosheth.' And he answered, 'Behold, I am your servant.' And David said to him, 'Do not fear, for I will show you kindness for the sake of your father Jonathan, and I will restore to you all the land of Saul your father, and you shall eat at my table always.' And he paid homage and said, 'What is your servant, that you should show regard for a dead dog such as I?' Then the king called Ziba, Saul's servant, and said to him, 'All that belonged to Saul and to all his house I have given to your master's grandson. And you and your sons and your servants shall till the land for him, and shall bring in the produce, that your master's grandson may have bread to eat. But Mephibosheth, your master's grandson, shall always eat at my table. Now Ziba had 15 sons and 20 servants. Then Ziba said to the king, according to all that my lord the king commands, his servant, so will your servant do. So Mephibosheth ate at David's table, like one of the king's sons. And Mephibosheth had a young son, whose name was Micah, and all who lived in Ziba's house became Mephibosheth's servants. So Mephibosheth lived in Jerusalem, for he ate always at the king's table. Now he was lame in both his feet. The story is, you look at this and you say, okay, what can we take from this? David was a man after God's own heart. And never mind, yes, he had hang-ups. Yes, he had problems. So do we all. But he was a man that desired to be right with God. He was a man that desired to do the right thing. No matter how many times he fell, he would get back up. And he would pray to God. David was a man after God's own heart. Acts 13:22. Follow me there really quick. Acts 13:22, it says, I apologize. Good job. Acts 13:22. After removing Saul, he made David their king. God testified concerning him. I have found David, son of Jesse, a man after my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do. Are you and I, like David, do we desire to do what God wants us to do? Or in that moment, when you and I can show kindness, do we decide to do what we want to do? David decided to do what God wanted to do. Number one, if I were to put a point on this, it said, kindness seeks opportunity to express itself. You see, kindness, people can be kind of, but there is no kindness like God's kindness. There's only one kindness that comes from God. Because God would flip things around when Jesus came down. You see, it was said in the Bible, it said, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Jesus told us that. He said, what is it? What is it to anybody else if you were to just love your neighbor? Even the sinners do. You and I yeah, we're going to love those who love us, right? We're going to do that. But those who do wrong, do you and I show kindness to them? David, he sought out Saul's house. He could have sought somebody, from his own kingdom. He could have said, you know what, I'm going to find the person who served me the best, and I'm going to be kind to them. What good is that? That's almost expected. How many of you guys go out to eat and say, somebody takes you out to eat and they pay for you? You say, well, I'm going to return the favor. Well, yeah, right? How many of you guys take somebody else out to eat who maybe has not taken you out to eat? That's a different story, right? You're like, I don't know about that. They haven't paid for me. They've never paid for me. But you and I, we have to show kindness. This morning I was getting ready. I told my wife, babe, please show me kindness, babe. Give me something to eat.
Hoorah.
She's like, babe, I'll make you something for Christian. I was like, please, babe, show me kindness. Allow kindness in your heart. You need to allow kindness in your heart. She's like, I am allowing kindness. I'm allowing you to live. I was like, my wife loves me. How many of you guys maybe live, in a circumstance like that? Maybe you're in a marriage, and sometimes it could be tough. You push each other's buttons. And you say, Pastor Daniel, I'm allowing them to live. I'm showing kindness. I am showing kindness. Trust me, because if I wasn't, they'd be gone. But God challenges us to something much greater than that. And that's showing kindness when it's hard to do so. Kindness seeks opportunity to express itself. Maybe it's, it's an enemy. To David, King Saul he wanted to kill David because David was made king over him. God anointed him king. And yet, even in that, he still showed kindness. And he said, you know what? Who in the family of Saul can I show kindness to? It's hard sometimes. Go to Luke chapter 6, verse 31 to 36. Luke chapter 6, verse 31 to 36. And as you wish to others, and as you wish that others would do to you, do so unto them. If you love those who love you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if you do good to those who do good to you, what benefit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. And if you lend to those whom you expect to receive, what credit is that to you? Even sinners lend to sinners to get back the same amount. But love your enemies and do good, and lend expecting nothing in return. And your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For he is kind to the ungrateful and the evil. Be merciful, even as your Father is merciful. Jesus would teach that. He would tell us that. How many of us this morning, that's why I said I get lost in that song. Because it's in hard times like that. There is only one place we can draw from, and that's God. Nobody else can get us and give us that type of kindness. There's a second thing that I want to share with this. And keep in mind, before I go to that second point, David had no obligation. He was not obligated to show kindness. Back then, your enemies, you killed them all. You killed everybody. That way nobody would come back. But he turned the table and he showed kindness. Are you and I ready to turn the table and show kindness in our life? Are you and I ready to turn that table and show kindness to somebody? It's easy to show kindness, when people are around, right? Because there's those people that just get on your nerve, right? And it's easy to just be kind in front of them. But it is one thing to be kind and show something in front of somebody. But it is yet another to be kind when you're not around them. What is it like when we're not around those people that aren't kind to us, that aren't mean to us, or that aren't nice to us, that are mean, or maybe they get under your skin? Do we talk about them? It's not being kind. God would say, pray for them. Kindness. Number 2, kindness seeks out the needy for the sake of someone else. How many of you can say, it is because your mother's prayers or your father's prayers that you are still here today? Amen? It is because of the relationship your mother or your father may have had with somebody that you've been shown kindness by somebody else. Well, that was just such with this story. There was a covenant relationship with Jonathan and David. In 1 Samuel 18:3. 1 Samuel 18:3. I just want to take you there just so you can see that. 1 Samuel 18:3. And it says, Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul. How many of you guys love somebody as your own? There's somebody that you love so much that you made such a pact, you made such a covenant that you're going to treat them well. You're going to treat their children well. You're going to treat them well beyond. How many of you guys have a pact like that with somebody? That covenant with them. We have a covenant relationship with God. Thus, we should be kind to others. God made a covenant between you and I. And there's that love covenant that God gave us. That he would come and die for us. He would die for our sins. Even though you and I were not worthy. At that point, just right there, when you think about it, you and I had nothing to be worthy of at that point. You and I have things in our lives that God has forgiven. How much more should we show that kindness to somebody else? We're to glorify God and seek somebody to show that kindness. How many of you guys actually actively look for somebody to be kind to? I remember this past year in Thanksgiving, go to my mother-in-law's house, and we go, and we had to stop by Family Dollar. We stopped by there, and I remember this guy comes up to my window, and he says, do you guys have anything to eat? You guys go, get me something to eat, and bring me something to eat. I was like, well, we don't have anything anymore. Families get together, I go, we'll go get you something. He's like, look, I'll give you my Bible. I just want to eat. And I told my wife, I was like, it was him and a woman. And I said, I felt horrible. This guy's willing to give us what he has, just what he's got left, to be able to eat. And so me and my wife go back to our family's house, and we go and we grab food. We come back, couldn't find them. They were gone. Maybe they thought, okay, that's just what everybody says, and they leave. We come back, and I remember we're circling around, and we're looking around, and we couldn't find them. So we go all the way to the other side of Jensen, and Jensen 99, we're in and out and all that around. We're looking for them. Can't find them. So then we find this other guy who's there. And same thing. Needy, homeless, obviously. And we give him 2-3 plates of food. The light in that man's face at that moment. It was just something that I will not forget. We could have just drove home and said, whatever, he's not there. But there was just something that just tugged at my heart and said, just keep going and looking for him. It may have not been him, maybe, who knows, maybe it was God sending us somebody to say, this person needs food. And yet we still found somebody who needed it. How many of us are actively searching and looking for that opportunity? How much are we just looking for somebody who needs help? Because of the covenant, David sent his messenger to seek out the lost and the forgotten. You and I have a duty to be able to remember those who were lost and forgotten. To be able to care for them. Maybe we won't be able to do everything for them, but give them something to eat. Give them something to eat. It's not much. But to them, it's something. The messenger became a servant to the lost. Mephibosheth was lame, forgotten, and useless to David. You and I, kindness should seek out the needs of others for someone else. It is because of our parents' prayers, sometimes because of how they've been. This should also speak to us as parents. The pact that they had allowed David to say, I had a pact with him, with Jonathan. I'm not going to go back on my word. You and I as parents should take that to heart and say, the things that we do today may affect our children later on and show them kindness to somebody else. Number 3, kindness is not slow in meeting the need. David showered blessings and honor on Mephibosheth. He could have said, you're going to be reserved to only this spot. How many of us sometimes maybe hold back our kindness or feel like, well, hey, they're even lucky I'm doing that, right? Been there before, right? I ain't gonna lie, I've been there before too. I've had that attitude before. It's, even lucky I even said that, or they're even lucky I, gave them that. I shouldn't have gave them anything. You have that feeling about it. David could have done such, and he could have just pushed him to the side, but he said no. He showered blessings on him. He said, you're going to eat at my table. How many of us have opened our hearts and our houses to people and said, you're going to eat with me, you're going to be here. I'm going to take, when somebody comes over your house, how many of you say, if they have to sleep at your house, how many of you give them the best room in the house? He wanted to show kindness to him. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 27 to 28. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 27 to 28. It says, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due, when it is in your own power to do it. Do not say to your neighbor, go and come again. Tomorrow I will give it when you have it with you. God's straight up telling us, if you have it, you're able to give it, give it. Don't hold on to it. Give it. Think about it. God is the giver of all good things. Why would we hold on to it? God's good enough to be able to bless us with anything else. He's able to give us that much more. He wasn't slow in showering him with his blessings. He gave him so much. David made Mephibosheth as his own son. How many of you have ever treated somebody and said, they're just like my own son? I'm going to treat them as such. I remember when we grew up, we had a cousin. His mom and dad were going through some stuff. We took him in. We took him in until he graduated high school, got married, moved on in life. We could have not done that. But I remember mom saying it was his brother's son. It was hard, but sometimes being with family is not easy. And taking in your own family, because you gotta, how it is sometimes when you got family around. David gave lifelong dwelling nourishment. And he didn't stop at some point and said, okay, this is enough. He continued to be kind to him over and over. Just as you and I, God is continuing to be kind to you and I. Every single day. With everything that we have. Last point I want to say is, number 4, kindness finds its source in God. The kindness of Mephibosheth is a type of kindness, God's kindness towards us. David showed the kindness of God. If you go to 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. 1 John chapter 4, verse 8. Anyone who does not love does not know God, because God is love. There is a love, there is only one type of kindness that you and I can ever project. Anything else is usually shallow. Let me say that again. There's only one type of love that you and I can show. That's God's kindness. That is a true kindness. It's a genuine kindness. Anything else other than that is shallow. It's not something that's deep in love. God was never under any obligation to be able to show you and I kindness. He had no obligation to do that. He could have said, let them fend for themselves. Let them, be destroyed. But yet he was kind enough to send his son. There was no obligation for God. God extended his covenant toward us as a matter of grace. Without merit, without even deserving it. God still did it. And he said, I love them so much. I love them so much, I'm going to send them the only thing that I've got, my son. My one and only son. I'm going to send him to die for me. You and I have, you see, when people say this is kind of, if you look at it like this, is a type of mankind. It's almost as we're crippled spiritually. But see, when people said there's a type of mankind, as we are spiritually crippled. He was crippled in his legs, but you and I were crippled spiritually. You and I had no hope left until God said, let me send you my son. And Jesus, at any time, he could have said no. If he wanted to. God could have just changed his mind. But Jesus, as he walked with that cross, as he carried that cross, being spit on, being kicked, being punched, being hit. How many times would he fall, get back up? How many times would blood just pour down? And yet he would stop and say, this blood is for you. How many of us have that type of kindness? Regardless of if we're spit on, regardless if we're hurt, we're attacked, can show kindness. I'm not telling you this morning to be a spiritual doormat by any means. There's a verse in the Bible that says, turn the other cheek. That third one is a different story, I guess, but God showed us kindness. I can't tell you how many times he turned that cheek, carrying that cross. You and I, not worthy, not deserving of it, yet he still showed us kindness. Who is it this morning that you can show kindness to? Who is it in your life, in your family, that you can show kindness to? Who is there in your friends, at your work, that you can show kindness to? Yet God would send a messenger to us, Jesus Christ, who became a servant to us. Jesus said it very clearly, I've come to be a servant, not to be served. How many of us are willing to show that kindness? God has adopted us as his sons. And he's taken us in as such. And he's invited us to eternally eat at his table. Just as David offered that to Mephibosheth. You and I, here, if you think about it, in some way, are Mephibosheths. And God is saying, let me show you kindness. I want you to eat at my table. I want you to live forever with me. Are we kind? Are we showing kindness? As I close this morning, I want us to go back to that psalm. Because I believe that there is a place you and I need to be. There is only one place where you and I can find that kindness. And that is with God. There is nowhere else you and I will be able to find kindness. Nowhere else. Do we go beyond the minimum in our kindness to others? Are we kind to the lost and the forgotten? To those who have nothing to offer? Are we accountable when moments of kindness present themselves? Are we kind when needed, or do so to, or do we conform to the world? Do you and I show that kindness this morning? I want you to close your eyes this morning. I want you to bow your heads.